Hi everybody, my name's Alex. I'm a Mexican guy and I'm gonna be your new Spanish teacher. Well, in this video I'm not gonna be your new Spanish teacher, but I'm gonna be your new language teacher. I'm gonna show you some tips and tricks of how to improve your language learning. Personally, in my case, I speak Spanish, I speak German, I speak English, obviously, and I speak French. So, without further ado, let's get started. So before continuing, I needed to tell you something. I was thinking about making streams. In these streams, I would talk with someone via Skype. He would call me or I would call him, and I will show him, I will talk with him and I will show him at the last his mistakes, how he can improve, etc. So if you like this idea, don't forget to subscribe to know when I'm going to stream. And also don't forget that in the description there are links that might be useful for you. So without further ado, let's get started. So first of all, I'm not saying that you're gonna be as fluent in Spanish as you're gonna be in your native language. I'm not saying that in 3 months you're gonna be the best Spanish speaker in the world. I'm just saying that with these tricks you're going to compress the time in which you're going to learn a language. If I could make a bet, I would say that you're gonna learn in 3 months the things that you would learn in 1 year. That's how it worked for me, and I hope that's how it will work for you. Second of all, I'm not saying that this is going to be like a magic trick. I'm saying that you're going to put effort into something. These are going to be obviously tricks, but there are not magic tricks. These tricks, you need to put effort into them, okay? So without further ado, let's get started. People tend to follow the same rules for learning a language. In every part of the world, people go to courses, people go to a class, and then they make what the teachers say. And the teachers tend to say, here, there's a list of vocabulary and you gotta learn it. And when you finish that list, here's another list of vocabulary, you gotta learn it. And then when you finish those lists, there's a whole bunch of new lists that you gotta learn. First, that spends a lot of time, a lot of effort also. And that also is going to spend you a lot of money. Why? Because you go to a class, you go to school, which you're paying, and you're going for 3 months, 4 months, even 6 months to learn just vocabulary and a little grammar. That's how it is all over the world. You gotta, I don't know, spend 3 years to learn a language, and that's ridiculous. That's 3 years of your money, of your entire money. Maybe you're paying per month, maybe you're paying, I don't know, per year, but you're spending money. And meanwhile, you're learning, you're going to school, they're taking your money. That's a little bit unfair. Why? Because their method is not efficient. There are estimates of how much time you need to spend learning French to be proficient or fluent, how much time you need to be in a course or in a class learning French. I found out that you needed to spend 2 to 6 years. But the question is, how much time did it take me? It took me just 6 months. I'm obviously going to show you my certificate. This is my B2 certificate and it took me just 6 months. But why? What did I make different? First, how you learn the basics is gonna change a lot the time you're gonna spend learning the language. Maybe you feel familiar with the fact that you go to school and in the first unit of the book you gotta learn, I don't know, kitchen vocabulary. And then you pass that unit and next month you're gonna learn house vocabulary, home vocabulary. And then you pass that unit and then you gotta learn city vocabulary. Then you gotta learn, I don't know, jobs vocabulary. And then you gotta learn different things. You spend a lot of time learning lots of vocabulary, and that's not the best way to learn the basics. Our brain doesn't work like that. Our brain tends to forget things that we do not use. So if we learn a lot of vocabulary, if we learn, I don't know, thousands of words, you're basically spending your time and your money. So basically, if you want to learn a lot, learn less, but you gotta learn it very well. So for example, how would you like to solve a puzzle that you don't know the image of it? Would you like to start, I don't know, by putting the pieces first in one corner and then in the upper corner and then in the other corner and then, or would you rather begin by filling the pieces in the center and then going like in spiral and then solving it like this? Obviously you would rather starting before in the center and then going like in spiral, because that way you're combining the pieces. The pieces that get combined give you a lot more information than the pieces that are all over the puzzle. They do not give you any information. It's the same thing in language learning. If you learn, I don't know, vocabulary from the kitchen and then vocabulary from parts of the car and then vocabulary from jobs, you're not using it. You're not combining them. If you do not combine the words, you're going to forget them. For instance, you can use, I don't know, the Anki app. This is an app that you can use to study pre-made deck flashcards, to learn a language, to learn the most used words in a language. I didn't know that app existed. I didn't know that app existed when I learned French, but I just Googled the most used words in French and I learned them. I learned the prepositions, I learned the question words, etc. That's how it works, but it's easier for you if you already know that the Anki app exists. The second trick is to learn by hearing and writing. That's what I did. When I already knew the most used words, I already had an idea of the French language, so I could already write sentences and I could already speak and I could link the words that I learned. So the second method is to learn by listening a lot and writing a lot. What I did was, in that time I found a new method. I found a method to learn French. It's called Français authentique. This method was entirely about listening skills. This native speaker, French guy, spoke in his videos and in his podcasts in French, totally like he would be speaking with a native person, but he subtitled everything he said. You gotta understand 80% of what he said, and the other 20%, at least 80%, and the other 20%, you gotta guess it by context. That's how babies learn the language, and that's how I learned the French language. It helped me a lot. I spent, I don't know, like 1 hour every day hearing him, and maybe 30 minutes, I don't know, maybe an hour in a whole week writing. That helped me a lot. And then I don't know, maybe 2.5 months later, I took the test, the TCF test, and I took it because I wanted to go to France to study. I was applying for a scholarship to France or Canada, and I was one of the 20 best scores in all Mexico. How did I did it? I was competing with people that had already 2 years studying French. 2 years. Why? Because in my school they didn't teach French. So I was competing against many people that had already 2 years studying French. And I won, and I was one of the 20 best scores. How did I did it? Using these tips and tricks. In the meantime, I obviously needed to learn grammar, but I only spent like 2 hours a week learning grammar. Why? Because when I encountered some new phrase or some new type of structure, I went to Google, I Googled it. So this is it. These are my tips and tricks to learn a language in 3 months. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, don't forget to thumb it up and to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to upload more grammar stuff, and I'm going to start to upload podcasts in Spanish as Français Authentique did it. So thank you for watching, and nos vemos hasta la próxima. Adiós.